Hi everyone, welcome to another episode here in MTG with Tío Pablo. I'm Tío Pablo, and today we have a really special topic to share with you. We will be talking about the art and some of the references in some of the cards in the Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and I have a really special guest with me here today. So please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jessica Sagahón. I've been playing Magic since 2012 with Return to Ravnica. I'm very excited for this set because I really love Mesoamerican history, especially Mexica and Maya culture and mythology. So this set has a lot of this kind of information, this kind of references. I'm very excited to share what I know about it with you. And thank you, Tío Pablo, for having me here.
Yeah, I'm very happy that you're here. I've wanted to have you on the channel for a while, and Jessica, you're also a judge, right?
Yeah, level one judge.
Level one judge.
I've been like in and out of the program. Like I certified myself, what, 5, 6 years ago? Went out of the program because I was not active, and then a little bit before Judge Academy came in, I entered the program again.
Very cool. And what formats do you play?
Mostly modern and commander. Very casual, not competitive commander.
Yeah. I used to play modern, but then I stopped playing
And
for
what
a
happened?
while. And then when I came back to the game, modern was too expensive.
Oh, so it's been a while since you played modern.
It's been a while since I played modern. I actually haven't played modern for maybe 10 years.
Ah, mm,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
explains everything.
yeah, I played modern when modern was new. Uh,
Yeah, no, when I started playing, modern was already very expensive. So
yeah, it always was. It always was. But I think that now it's kind of like almost on the same level as Legacy or um,
yeah, not really sure about the same level, but
yeah,
but,
but
but
pretty.
yeah,
And I mean, I'm
expensive.
I'm also like I could play modern. I mean, with the amount of money that I put into Commander, I could honestly play modern. But yeah, I've just committed. um. Okay. So I think that just like you, I am really interested in history. I'm really interested in Maya and other Mesoamerican cultures, and I was very happy to see this set. So, what do you think of this set? What have been some of your impressions?
The set was made with love. Yeah, that's the first impression I have because the references are very accurate. The story when you read it, it feels like very natural, very made with love, and that's how I like now that I see it. I really hope that I don't know, for example, a monkey was made with that much detail. So I really hope we can go back to a monkey with um maybe not the same team that made Ixalan, this new Ixalan, but maybe something similar. The people that put really effort into research and contact people who actually know what they are talking about.
Absolutely, and I think that just the fact that the art director Ovidio Cartagena is a Guatemalan artist, who also loves history, also grew up with loving these things. I think that that really shows, and
Yeah.
sometimes people.
I mean, he was
Sorry, go ahead.
no. He was involved in many things. Like he was art director. I think he was involved also on the creation of the set itself, and he also made art. So
Absolutely,
yeah.
yeah. So, just a quick announcement: Ovidio Cartagena will actually be on the channel in a few days. So, I'm going to be doing an interview with him. That's going to be really exciting. So, keep an eye out. I'm going to, put an announcement out on uh, all social media, Twitter, Instagram, all of that stuff, once I have a set date for the release date of that video. But it's definitely coming in the next, I'm hoping for the next 3 to 5 days. We'll see. Okay. So, So shall we start looking at some cards and talking about the what we think about them?
Sure, sure. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So do you want to start talking about the first card on our list?
Okay, let me check. So we have Abuelo and the Ancestors cards. Um, Something remarkable about this whole story about Abuelo, when you see the card and you read the story, is that this guy came out of a poncho that Queen enchanted with his magic. So when he comes back, he doesn't remember anything, but then he starts to remember Abuela. And it's very cute because he was like, "Oh, Abuela was in charge of everything. I was just following her around." And it's like super cute because that's how, I mean, maybe the Latin American family, it's not always like that, very loving and caring. When it happens, it's very cute. So it shows the importance that the family has in the Latino community, because it shows the kind of relationship that your grandmother, your grandfather had maybe when you grew up, no? And you see it, and it's like, oh, they were like so many years together, and they were so sweet, and yeah, yeah, I
Absolutely.
like that.
Yeah, I also think that there's like a strong spiritual thing here because of I don't know what the equivalent is in Mexica culture, but in Maya culture in Guatemala, Maya Quiche, Maya Cachiquel, there's this worship of Xpiacoc and Ixmucane, who are like the great grandmother, great grandfather, sort of like the Platonic idea of the grandmother and the grandfather, and there's this whole notion of the worship of ancestors, and I think that that's also very present in Mexico.
Yeah, like the Mexicas, for example, they had a lot of, they believe too much in duality. So, for example, the god of Mictlan, the land of the dead, Mictlan Tecutli, had his equivalent part in female, like the queen of the underworld. I don't remember her name right now, but they always come in pairs. So it's that duality that represents like how the universe it's made. That male cannot be without the female.
Yeah, it's a and also like we also have some gods that are sort of several characters in one, and and
Yeah.
some of their aspects are male and some of their aspects are female. So we also have that sort of mother father figure, which I also think is really interesting. Um, and also in I think that in both of our cultures there is a lot of the worship of the ancestors. Like in Mexico there's Dia de los Muertos. In Guatemala we call it Dia de Todos Santos because we're a little bit more Catholic influence. But we do have that thing of like going back and visiting the grandparents and bringing them offerings and so on.
Yeah, it's like when, especially in the Mexican families, sometimes the male figure is absent. So a lot of women raise their child on their own with the help of their parents. So, for example, in my personal case, that's what happened, and I was raised by my grandparents. So, yeah,
Yeah,
it's more common than it seems, and grandparents make a big influence on Latino communities, Latino kids
if
nowadays.
absolutely.
And they always tell you that you have to respect your elders. So,
Yes.
or if you don't, they will hit you with the chancla.
Yeah, that is definitely the respect for. Yeah, I get this a lot here in the US. Like sometimes I see the way that like kids will talk to their parents, and I'm like, in Latin America, this would not be okay ever. Okay, shall we move on to our next card?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so our next card,
Aclasot.
Aklasots. Yeah.
Yeah. This is
So
my favorite. I was expecting this one since the first Ixalan.
yeah, you know what I
Yeah.
think I thought of when I saw this was Did you watch the movie From Dusk Till Dawn?
Yes.
Yeah, where it's the vampires and well, I don't want to spoil the end of the movie, but it reminded me of that movie. And
It was very funny because have you seen Maya and the Tree?
I have not. I it keeps coming up,
It's
but
what
I've not
yeah,
seen it.
what there is a Kamots in there,
Yeah,
and it's a very cool guy. So.
yeah. And I think that we should talk about Kamasotz. So in Maya culture, there is an actual deity called Kamasotz, and Sotz means bat in Maya Quiche. Kamasotz means death bat, and Kamasotz is actually the messenger of the lords of the underworld, and so he's a very terrifying figure. And in Maya culture, there are a lot of associations of the bat with death. So I think that this was a really well designed card.
Yeah, it's like in the Popol Vuh, he took one of the twins' heads. So,
Yeah,
and they use it for playing a ball game, no? Something like
yes, I think they do. Well, I remember they put it up on a tree. I don't remember if they use it for a game, but a lot of very weird things happen in the underworld. But they end up putting his head on the tree,
that.
and yeah,
Yeah, I wanted to see that on the history to Ixalan, but it didn't happen.
yeah, and there's another card in this set called Batcave, I think.
Mm.
That there's actually I think that this is a direct reference to an archaeological site in northern Guatemala where there's a gigantic cave that's just full of bats, and you get this cloud of bats coming out every night. And that place is actually called El Sots, literally the bat place. So
Oh, never been there. I think I have to visit.
yeah, it's impressive. It's amazing. It's surrounded by jungle. There's like the big temples. It's really incredible.
I think what I really liked about this character is that he is the one who took vampirism into the plane. So it was not just something that happened like the typical idea of Dracula. No, this was a bad god cursing people and turning them into vampires.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think it's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, and I think that the whole caverns is inspired by the very concept of Xibalbá of the underworld. But we'll talk about that in a different video because that's a lot of explaining.
A lot.
Yeah. Okay. So what's next?
We have Akal Pakal.
Oh, Akal Pakal. Okay. So um, I don't know anything about the character in Magic because I'm not up to date with the story. But
He's the ruler of the inner core of Ixalan.
mhm.
So
um,
he's the leader. Like the inner people of Ixalan are the um, ancestors of the people outside from what these people.
okay. Yeah,
So
that's very cool.
they are like an older version of the Sun Empire. And this guy, Akal Pakal, it's the maximum leader, but also it's like he takes Watley and her expedition like very welcoming. Like you are our family and you are very welcome here.
That is amazing.
He was not aggressive at all with them. With the vampires, yes, but not with Watley and her team.
Very cool. Um, the other really cool thing is that there was actually a king Pakal in Mexico in what the place that we now call Palenque. I think that there was a king. Let me just look at his names to make sure I get it right. It was Kinich Hanav Pakal the first. So there
The
was,
first, yeah.
yeah, and so he was born in the year 603, died in the year 683. So he had a long rulership, and he
He's
developed.
considered like. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, you go, you go. You probably know this better than I do.
Not much, but he's considered to be the most like his kingdom was the longest one in America. He's known for that.
His rulership, he.
Yeah, his rulership was the longest one.
That is amazing.
It was like a long rulership.
Yeah, and I know
I
that.
mean, he didn't start ruling when he was young, but at least it's like 60 years or something of kingdom. So it's
Well, if
quite a
he.
while, considering people back then
Yeah.
didn't live long.
Well, if he started, let's say when he was 20, I have no idea when he came into power, but if he started when he was 20, that would be 60 years on the throne. And my understanding is that he was very respected, and he built a lot of really, he expanded their palace, and he built a bunch of fortresses. Like he really, well, not him personally, but under his guidance, like Palenque really grew into its one of its golden ages.
Yeah, it was during his rulership, Palenque became the most important city in that area. What is now the that state of Chiapas?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, Palenque became the most important city for commerce, architecture, culture. But actually, the decipher of the Maya script, it's a Russian.
Mm-hmm.
This guy believed that Pakal wasn't really a name. It was more like a title. And it's interesting that the cards in Magic, we have two Pakals, that it's the ruler and the leader of the army.
Mm-hmm.
This Russian say that Pakal probably meant like an army title because it means the one who carries the flag.
Oh, really? I did not know that that's
Yeah.
what it meant. That's and that's Maya, or is that now what?
Yes.
It's Maya.
Not Maya.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. Yeah, so King Pakal in Magic inspired by the real world King Pakal. I think that is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, so the next card that we have here is Cavern of Souls, which is a reprint, but it has new art now.
Okay. The original art, like the main art, I think it's placed in a cenote from my point of view. I'm not really sure. But what I really like about the alternate version is that it's not only showing a pyramid, it's also showing Nazca lines on the sky. So it's a mix, it's a clear mix of Mesoamerican cultures with Inca.
So I think that we can tell people a little bit about how um, the area Mesoamerica where the Mayas lived, it was a karst landscape.
Yeah, I think the south, like the center part, since it has a lot of volcanic activity, it's basalt and volcanic. When you go to the south, to the Yucatan Peninsula, you will find all of these karstic structures. And the thing with that material is that it's easily dissolved. So with the pass of water and so on, you get this formation of caverns that are filled with water, and that's what we call cenotes.
Hmm. Yeah, and we also get these really big cavern systems, and it's really interesting how these cavern systems were a very well. In some people believe that these were passages into the underworld, into Xibalba, and you find a lot of offerings in these caverns, like lots of archaeological pieces. In if in Belize, there's the caverns of Actun, Tunichil, Muknal, which are just unbelievable. It's expensive to go there now because it's very popular with tourists, but it's a very deep cave. There's a river that runs through it. You can sort of hike along this river, and
Oh,
and there are skeletons, just like mineralized skeletons of people who were sort of buried in this cave.
so they
So
are
yes,
really there. It's not like on display or something. It's
no, no,
like
no. It's
the real
in the
thing is in
cave.
there
You see the mineralized skeletons of ancient people there,
of people. Oh
and
my
it's
god.
terrifying. I mean, it's pitch dark, And, just I can't imagine what it must have been, 1,000 years ago, just going in there with a torch to leave your dead relative so that they find their way to the underworld.
And the funny thing about cenotes is that they are interconnected. So they are a huge system of caverns, of caves. It's tremendous.
Yeah, I mean,
So if
sometimes,
you had the like if you had the chance of like by any means diving, you can enter from one side and end up in a very different side. But sometimes they are very deep, and the water in there, since it's very high in minerals, it's very heavy, so it's quite difficult to swim in there.
yeah, I've heard
So
it's
yeah, don't do it without an
dangerous.
expert.
Yeah, just do it if you're a very good diver and with the guidance of an expert, because it's actually quite dangerous. Um, and there are actually other cards that make reference to this. There's a chart a course, which basically shows a
Mm-hmm.
cenote, and there's also a character who is the cenote explorer, um,
Yeah,
who's a merfolk, which it would make sense
which
that
makes sense because they swim. So
yeah, they can go very, very deep. I don't know what the maximum depth is that a merfolk can dive to, but according to Magic Story, they dive very deep.
I mean
Okay,
it's a magic world, so they can dive wherever they want.
yeah. Um, okay, so then we have some wildlife references. So we
Oh yeah.
see the Coati scavenger. Um, the Coati, in case you've never seen one, they're really fun. Their tails look like dinosaur necks, and they're a close relative of the raccoon. They're everywhere in the lowlands of Mexico and Guatemala. They're basically just like raccoons. They steal food and they're kind of troublemakers. They're very smart and very cute.
Yeah, there's the one depicted in the card. It's a specific um, species of coati that it only lives in South America.
Oh,
Because
really?
there is a difference with the coatis in here because I know them from Tabasco. If
Okay.
you go to La Venta, they are living quietly in there.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
the
they are different.
ones.
They are not as furry and not as big.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
because.
they are darker.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. I didn't realize that this was a different species. Look at me being terrible at biology, which was my degree, so I'm failed. Okay,
I'm
then.
terrible at geology. Don't worry.
Yeah. We also see in Restless Prairie, we see some alpacas, which I think everyone knows are South American. So this is more of an Inca reference. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the alpacas are in the camel family. They're used for as pack animals. They're also eaten, and they're also used for wool. So a very, very useful animal. There's bass.
What's the difference between the llama and the alpaca? The alpaca is like fluffier, no?
I think so. Their faces are also different.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Mm.
should have brought
Because
us up.
I understand that alpacas are nice and llamas are just mean and
Yeah,
they spit on you.
llamas are very mean, very, very mean. Um, the yeah, we also see a capybara here. Do you know anything
Oh,
about
that's very sweet.
capybaras?
They are like the friendliest animals ever. They are very famous for hanging around with everyone, even with their predator.
Yeah, the meme of the capybara that's friend with everybody. Um,
They
yeah,
are the biggest rodents in the world.
the biggest
And
rodents
they
in the
are
world.
related to chinchillas, like a big chinchilla. I mean,
Yeah,
no, it's like guinea pig, guinea pig.
yeah, guinea
It's a
pig.
big guinea pig.
Yeah, guinea pig. And well, they live close to water. And this again, this is a South American animal. This was very important to South American cultures. You do not find this creature in Mexico or Central America.
No.
Um, so it's a really interesting. It's very interesting to also see the fauna represented. The last one that I wanted to point to was the on the on one of the arts for Restless Anchorage, we see a quetzalis,
Mm.
which, in case you did not know, is the national bird of Guatemala. But this is an animal that is of special interest to Mesoamerican cultures. Do you
To
want to?
everyone. Yeah, it was a big thing for Mayas, for Mexicas, for they like Mexicas use the feathers of the quetzal only for nobility and priests because it was considered a divine animal.
Right.
So yeah, they traded with the Mayas to get these feathers because you only find them in the jungle, and in the Mexica area is more like arid and woods, so you don't find quetzals in there.
Yeah, but they had the feathers by trade, right?
Yes, there was a lot of trading between these cultures.
Yeah. So,
So
Maya and Nawa royalty would wear headdresses made of quetzal feathers and use them in their tunics. And we actually see a representation of this in the new art for that angel. What's the angel? Really cool angel reprint we got here in Ixalan.
all the angels, actually, all of them have quetzal feathers, and you can notice because apart from the normal wings, they also have these little tails on the wings,
Right, right.
and that's the tail of the quetzal. Yeah.
Yeah. We also this is not related to Ixalan, but we also had that secret lair for birds where
Birds of Paradise,
the
I
Birds of
think.
Paradise that was inspired by a quetzal, and that was actually illustrated um, by Ovidio Cartagena as well.
Right.
Yeah, he just took the quetzal as
God
an
bless
inspiration.
Ovidio.
Yeah, of course. I mean, look at him just giving us all this love. um, and also like we have Quetzalcoatl uh, in Mexico that well in Guatemala it's called Cuculcan. Cucul means Quetzal. So
Quetzal, Quetzal.
yeah, so Quetzalcoatl means Quetzal snake, and Cuculcan also means Quetzal snake. So that is like the root for the name of that god. Um,
Before you move on,
yeah.
there is one animal you miss,
Which
and
one?
it's a very important one.
Oh no.
The opossum, we call it
Oh,
tlacuache.
I didn't see it. Where in what card?
Bonehor Dracosaur, the dinosaur dragon. If you see in the left corner of the card, there is this small animal, like it's right in the corner on top of the bones. That's a tlacuache.
No way. Okay, that's really cool. Uh, we call it
And
taquasing.
oh,
So and
and
I suppose that those two words have a shared root.
maybe Nahuatl origin. But the funny thing with the tlacuache is that it's the Mexica Prometheus.
Oh really?
It was said that the gods didn't want to share the fire with the humans. It's like gods hated these humans, according to the legend of the five sons, like we had four previous sons before this one.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them had humans. But when they were destroyed because the gods weren't happy with them, and when they created this last son, actually Quetzalcoatl wanted to bring humanity back, but the gods didn't want it. So he went to the underworld, passed several tests, and then mixed his blood with the bones from old humanity and gave birth to the current humanity. But then the gods didn't want to share the fire with humans. So the Tlacuache saw this and said, no, I'm going to help them. So with its tail, took the fire and ran with humans, shared the fire, and that's why the Tlacuache has no hair on its tail.
Because it all got burned off?
Yes.
That is very good.
Because of the fire.
Okay, I like that story. Thank you. I did not know that story. That is so cool. Shall we move on to our next card?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So our next card is Braided Kipu. And I am
this
sure
one is, yeah, okay, yeah.
you go ahead.
Go ahead. No, give the introduction and then I can.
I just think that most people don't know what a kipu is.
And the people who know it are not very happy with the depiction of it, for what I know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because the kipu is was used by the Incas to make like counts.
Yeah, and they
counting.
did it like a dress.
No.
In the card.
So in the card, yes.
Yeah, in the card somebody's
But,
wearing it. Yeah.
but it was not. It had nothing to do with clothing. It was more like an abacus,
Yeah, for keeping records.
records of countings.
Yeah.
So yeah, imagine you have that and you keep the same name but use it for a different thing. It's like, mm,
Yeah, I guess it's not ideal to represent it that way. Um yeah, well I did not know that people were unhappy. But anyway, just so
that's what I
people
wrote
know.
in Twitter. I don't know it by first hand because nobody from Peru has told me that. But that's what I know from the chisme in Twitter.
Okay, so I'll look into that. But anyway, a quipu, as you said, was a series of strings and knots of different colors. They also had different beads in them, and they were used for record keeping. Um, they were used for taking census, for keeping like track of wealth and debt and all that stuff. And it was an Inca thing. Um, and the Inca did not have a writing system, but they did have the quipu for tracking information.
Actually, what I was reading is that maybe, like some archaeologists are not sure about it, but maybe the quipus were also used like a kind of written language.
Oh, really?
It's a probability. I mean, it's not definitive, but maybe the kind of notes they did, it was not only to keep numbers, but also words.
Very cool. I guess that was a card that was not too well represented, but we do have the reference to the quipu there.
At least
What's
now people know what a quipu is.
yeah. So what's next on the list?
We have compass gnome.
Okay, so this one I wasn't too sure on whether or not to put on the list, but I thought that
It's good, yeah.
yeah.
I think it's
Why do
good.
you think it's good? maybe you maybe you know something I
Because
don't.
when you look at the picture, something I like it looks like the sunstone.
It does.
Yeah, it looks like the sunstone. And what one thing about the sunstone, and especially with the icon of the set, it's that it looks like the Naui Ojin, Naui Olin. That it's the representation of the fifth sun. It actually means for movement. Um, and the thing with the sunstone is that it's not a calendar and it's not Aztec, it's Mexica,
Hmm.
which is more recent. Um, and it's not using for measuring time. It was mostly a depiction of the myth of the five suns. You see it also in the map token. You can also see the same picture there.
Yes, and
And I really like you put that in the list because I think it's very important. You see, and oh, that's a sunstone.
yeah, the reason why I put it in the list was because um in Maya culture having a compass and the four directions is very important, and there
Mm-hmm.
are colors and deities that are associated with each one, and there are prayers about the cardinal points. Um, so I think that this understanding of well geography basically was well useful for navigation, but it was also of big cultural significance.
Mm-hmm. And actually, those when you see the sunstone, you see it has some points, like four main points. Some people say it might refer to the cardinal points, or also to the idea that Mexica had that yeah, you have four directions, but they are not they are in constant movement, in constant change. So it's not something static. It's constantly moving.
Hmm, that is very interesting. Wow,
Yeah.
I'm learning so much by talking to you about this. This is very cool.
Yeah, no, I had to do my own research because I'm writing an article about all these reference, or at least the ones I could like identify from the first glance.
Oh, and where do we find that? I think that we should have talked about it at the beginning of the video.
I'm writing it for Command Herald.
Commander's
Contact
Herald.
me
Oh,
to
very
write
cool.
this. Yeah, Commander Herald. Yeah, contact me to write this article, but in English. So I'm writing the. After I finish publishing, I will translate it into Spanish and publish it on my blog, Wizards of the Gulf, for people who don't know English or have a hard time reading English.
Very cool. Wow, that's amazing. So our next card is Contested Ball Game.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us how is the ball game in Maya or Mayas?
Well, there was a court that was, I don't know what the dimensions of the court were, but the goal was to keep, it was 2 versus 2, I think, most of the time. And the goal was to keep the ball moving without using your hands or feet. So you could use like most part of your body, but not your hands or feet. And then there was a ring, which is what we see in the card, where if you got the ball to go through that ring, that was worth more points. So I don't know how it was tracked, the score. But this game, I think a lot of people still play this in Mexico, right?
Not a lot. It's actually not a common thing to see. But in Sonora, they still in Sonora this was not even Mesoamerica. Sonora is the desertic part where in the north, where you had a lot of groups moving around because they didn't know agriculture, so they were dependent on hunting. But modern day people from Sonora, they just took the rules they knew from Mesoamerican cultures and made their own version. It's like almost technically the same thing. So yeah, the sport is still alive. It's just not widely played.
Okay.
And funny thing with this game is that it was played by many cultures because Mesoamerica was not only Mayas and Mexicas or Nahuatl. For example, where I come from, I was born in Poza Rica, Veracruz, and it's next. The city is next to a town called Papantla, and Papantla has one of the most important archaeological zones in the state. That it's El Tajín. It was made by the Totonacas. And the Totonacas and the Mayas, thanks to them, since they were, for them, it was very common to make pictures on the pyramids. So they have record of human sacrifices related to the ball game.
I've heard of that. I've also seen
Yes.
some images of the players with heads hanging from their belts. So we know that
I'm not really sure about this. Yeah.
somebody was getting sacrificed in the middle of all this.
Yeah, no, for what I know, they played in teams. Um, and yeah, they had to put like the rules were almost the same in every culture you see. Like you have the rings on top, and then you have to hit a rubber ball, which are really really hard
Yeah, they're hard and they're heavy.
with with your hips. That must be very painful.
Yeah, but people get good
What
at it.
practice? So what archaeologists are not in a consensus of how it worked. If the sacrifices, because it's known that where war captives were forced to play and they were afterwards sacrificed. And the thing with this ball game is that it was not only a sport, it was a ritual. So they have to keep the ball moving because it represented the moving of the stars in the
Cosmos,
sky,
yeah.
the cosmos, yeah. So it represented moving of of Venus, that was very important for all these cultures, the sun, the moon, and the earth. This thing was a whole ritual. So at the end, it's probable that these captives were sacrifices, or they also say that winners were the ones sacrificed because it was a honor to be being food for the gods.
I think it was probably the war prisoners who were sacrificed I don't think that people were
Why not both?
because you want to have your good players to play again.
That's what I think. And sometimes they say that only the captain was sacrificed, not the whole
Yeah,
team.
I just feel like if that was the case, people would just play badly on purpose.
No, because it was an honor to be sacrificed.
Yeah, but who says that? Like, is that is this from official records? Like, I need to see, I need to hear this
From yeah.
from
Yeah, no,
someone
there
who
are
was
not
there.
official records of that.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, many were lost during the Conquista. So
so much of it,
we don't know.
so much of it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, entire libraries. It's horrible. I was actually reading a book, and it's a book that I recommended in my last video, and I'll bring it up here again. The book is called 1491, and it was written by a guy called Charles Mann. And this is a history, very short history of America before the arrival of Europeans. And it clarifies a lot of things that we don't know and a lot of things that we've been getting wrong for years because, these histories were not ever properly recorded. But what this guy says in
Mm-hmm.
this book is that in the 16th century, more books were burnt and lost forever than at any time before or since.
Yeah.
Just because basically all the libraries in Central and North America were destroyed.
And it was a lot of knowledge. If you see the Mayas, they had a better calendar system than Europeans.
Yeah, I mean, it's still better. It's still better than the one we
Yeah,
use.
well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I did talk a lot about that in my previous video, but I think it's worth bringing up again. Um, okay. Should we move on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So next we have Descendant's Path, and I think that there are a couple of cards, this one and some other card that actually show some frescoes,
Yeah,
Maya frescoes, or I guess the Mexicas had them too.
not as nice as the Mayas, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mayas, the one they found in. Do you remember where they found these very nice frescoes?
Yeah, the super famous one in Mexico. I do not remember, but we
Yes,
can look it up. Bonampak.
Yeah, Bonampak.
Yeah, they were found in Bonampak.
And when you see the pictures, they are like these full vivid colors everywhere. So these frescoes, these murals tell the story of a governor, how he raised to power, some of the celebrations that were done in his honor, and so on. So these frescoes are one of the only registers we have from what the Mayas looked like and what they did. Because again, many of the records were destroyed.
Yeah.
We have these and the stelas. So actually, thanks to the stelas, we were able to decipher the Maya scripture.
I've only ever seen one original Maya codex, a Maya book, um, in a museum in Spain, in Madrid.
Very funny that they have leaks over there, but they're being taken good care of. So
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, people have access to it and all, but it's a complicated thing to for
yeah,
yeah. I mean,
there are some in here in Mexico too. So
I also wanted to say that there have been some frescoes found in northern Guatemala, some of which show scenes of the hero twins in Xibalbá. So a direct reference
oh,
to the Popol Vuh. Anything else we want to say about frescoes?
oh yeah, the frescoes in Bonampak. Mm, they are so well done that first the paint hasn't faded after all these years, and second they have archaeologists found like about 28 different kind of colors just by mixing, you know, herbs and minerals. So they really knew what they were doing,
That's incredible.
mixing the
I did not
paintings.
know that. That is
Yeah.
incredible. And yeah, the fact that they've been preserved so well, that's amazing. I think that our next card is Cosmon Confluence. And this is one of the few cards that shows a reference to an older culture. Because in Cosmian Confluence, what we see is one of these giant stone heads that
Mm. Oh
come
yeah.
from the Olmec culture. And the Olmec and the Toltec and some other groups were groups that actually predated the Maya. So, and I,
Actually,
go ahead.
the Olmec culture is known as the mother culture of Mesoamerica because it's the oldest one. So they are believed to be the first one, like they invented popcorn in Mesoamerica, the first god. They had their own primitive compass. It is also believed that the origin of Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan come from the Olmec.
Okay, I'm not surprised. I'm
Okay.
actually not surprised that that's where it
Yeah,
comes from.
they like to make these big heads. They only found around like 13 or something like that.
Hmm.
And they look that way because it's again the ball game. Um, it's believed that these people, like they are based on rulers, governors wearing helmets for the ball game.
Oh, oh, really? That's why they have like. Okay,
Yeah.
that is very cool.
It's a theory. It's nothing confirmed, as an archaeology and history, but that's one of the theories.
Okay,
And
that's
these
really
things
cool.
are huge,
Hmm.
huge, huge, very heavy, tons of weight.
Yeah. I've also read that some of the stone heads have a cross eye, um,
Oh
and that
yeah.
that genetic trait is still present in at a larger than average uh, percentage in the population that lives in the area today. So we know that some some people, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's in Jalisco. Some there are
Mm,
people who are still, maybe descended from Olmecs because we see this
yeah, but not in
shared
Jalisco. It's in Tabasco.
Tabasco's. Thank you.
The Olmecs
It's
were
yeah,
in
it's in
Tabasco and
Tabasco.
south of Veracruz.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I haven't seen it. Like I have family there, so I go there often.
well,
Very
maybe
nice chocolate.
maybe some of your people were Olmecs.
No, I don't know. Like we are a mixture of everything, so it's
Yeah,
impossible
I
to
mean, so
call
is my
you.
family. So is every family in Latin America. It's
Yeah.
impossible to know. Um,
Yeah, no, but yeah, you're right. Like having the eye like that, it was a sign of beauty. It was desirable back then.
um, so just some data here. So these giant stone heads are about 11 feet tall. So the biggest ones are 11 feet tall, and they are from around the year 900 BC. So basically, like 3,000 years old. Um,
I found my notes, so I have my notes in here. So in an average 8.8 feet tall, the smallest one weighs 6 tons,
oh wow,
but they are about 20 to 50.
wow, it's incredible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even 17 of these heads have been found.
Very cool. Very very cool.
Yeah. And they are made of basalt, that it's a volcanic rock. And basalt is not even very dense, so you can imagine how big these things are.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
that's
massive.
incredible. I have not seen these in person. I hope to see them someday.
I'll send you a picture because I'm going there for Christmas.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, very very cool. Okay, so our next card is Okinek Ahau. And I wanted to ask you, do people use the word Ahau in Mexico?
No, it's a Maya word.
Okay.
And maybe people who speak the language use it, but since it's more related and instead of being a word used for a specific leader, it's a word used for like the royal family.
Hmm.
or like the group of governors. So I'm not really sure if they use it for like the local leaders. I'm not really sure, but it exists in the language. So
Okay. So ahau just basically means something like ruler or
hmm
lord or lady, because it's also used for women. Like there are both men and women who use the title ahau. So I was looking at Okinekahau and some of these other cat warriors, and also they all have Makawit weapons.
mm,
So
yeah.
do you want to tell us about those weapons? I saw you posted about it.
Yeah, the whole thing is that these warriors are based on the Jaguar warriors. The Mexica warriors the army had elite warriors that were the Eagle warriors and the Jaguar warriors. They will dress up as the animal because they thought that dressing up as them will grant them their powers in battle. One of the weapons they used was the Macuahuitl, that is this wooded plank with obsidian knives on the side. And it's a very powerful weapon. If I don't know if you have ever touched like shatter obsidian.
Yeah, it's very sharp.
It's really sharp. So you just touch it. And I once was in a field trip
Mm-hmm.
um, for the local university, the national university, and we were making because I'm a geophysicist, not a geologist. So we were making prospections over these agricultural sites, and we were trying to find a pyramid. That there was a mount on there, which we were trying to see if it was a pyramid. But the whole ground was full with small obsidian knives. So I grabbed one and then passed it through my skin, and oh my god, it was a deep wound, and I was just like,
Oh, really? Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it took a while to heal because just with a minimal pressure, you can make a very deep wound. So now imagine that applied with force with a macoito, and then, well, it's a glass, it's a volcanic glass, so it tends to shatter when force is applied. So imagine that thing hits you and leaves shards of glass inside your wound, a deep wound. So that wound, it will not heal, and it will get infected, and you will die.
That's crazy. And I have seen
Yeah.
people demonstrating the use of the macahuitl, and I've seen someone like slice, 2/3 of the way into a dead pig
Yeah.
with this. It
If
was
it didn't kill you, it will infect you.
yeah,
So
a very
it was deadly anyway.
yeah. I heard. I don't know if this is true, but I heard that you can sharpen obsidian sharper than steel.
Yes, it is used in medical research and in surgeries where you need so much precision that you cannot use the steel bisturí.
Oh, really? So they use obsidian knives?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's really cool. So let's now talk about jade seed stones. I think that jade was very important to Mesoamerican culture,
Everyone.
and yeah, and
Yeah.
you're the geologist, so I will let you talk about jade.
Okay, so I'm surely I'm a geophysicist. So
Geophysicist, sorry.
yeah, something a bit different. But jade is usually green and it is made of silicate. So it's quite like quartz is also silicate, so it's very very strong and very smooth. Um, this mineral it was very valuable for all these cultures because it was related to rebirth and life. It was for good fortune as well. With amber and jade were very important. But amber is not a mineral; it comes from a tree.
Hmm.
But also because of this origin, it was also related with life, and it was attributed with medical properties as well as jade. So, but jade was more difficult to get. And it was so important that, for example, Pakal was buried with a very famous jade mask, death mask. And it was like a help for the afterlife, because since it means renewal, well, it will help you to go to your afterlife with good, like a good spirit.
Yeah, kind of similar to how the Greeks would give the coin to their dead.
Uh-huh.
They would put coins over the
It
eyes
was
or in the mouth.
it was not for paying, it was just like a blessing.
Like a blessing. Okay.
Like, yes. Yeah, because you didn't have to pay to go to the underworld.
No, free
But you
rides.
needed a help of a dog to cross. For the Mexica.
So lots of really impressive jewelry in Central and North America made of jade. And
yeah, but it's also important for Asians. So it's interesting how this mineral was like it was desirable for many cultures around the world.
well, it's really beautiful,
Yeah.
and it doesn't scratch.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is something that I learned, that there's another mineral that's very similar called jadeite, but jadeite scratches if you
yeah.
hit it with metal or something, it will scratch. But jade does not scratch even if you scratch it with steel or iron. It's very hard.
Yeah, it's because of the difference in minerals. Like the jadeite, it's sodium and aluminum, and jade, it's a silicate of calcium and magnesium. So remember, I say like quartz, it's a silicate too.
Mm-hmm.
There is this scale called the Mohs scale that determines the hardness of a mineral. And quartz and jade are around 6 or 7, which is harder than the Swiss knife.
Steel?
Than steel, yes.
Okay.
It's harder than the steel. I was thinking about iron, and it's like no, that's
No,
not
it's not iron. Steel. Wow, that's
steel,
amazing. I did not know that. That's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you can take a quartz and then scratch it with a Swiss knife, and the Swiss knife will leave traces on the quartz, but the quartz will not scratch. It will not get scratched.
It's amazing. Actually, I have a chef knife that's a Swiss knife. It's a Victorinox brand Swiss chef's knife.
Right.
It's one of my favorite possessions, and you know, it's inexpensive for a high quality chef knife. So I really love it.
Well, grab a quartz and then scratch it. That's a good test when you're trying to buy one of those minerals. And I learned that in school, because you take the quartz and then scratch it with the knife. And if it gets scratched, then it's not a quartz, and they are like trying to
scam you.
Scam you, yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's very, very interesting. Okay. What's our next card?
Map token. We already talked about the.
Yeah, I think we can.
The Thornstone and but you also wanted to talk about the codexes, yes?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything prepared for that, so we can. I don't know if you want to talk about the codexes.
Just very quickly, like again, thanks to the codexes, the stelas and the frescos, that's how we could understand decipher the Maya scripture, the glyphs. So they were very important in research, and it was also one of the few elements that survived the conquista to nowadays. And we also have these Mexica codexes. And they were preserved by one of my ancestors. Not really my ancestor, but Fray Bernardino de Sahagún was one of the monks, like Spanish monks tried to record history of the locals.
Oh yes,
Before the army destroyed everything and the Catholic Church destroyed everything. So many of those monks kept some of the codexes, or allowed people to keep them. Or at least they tried to gather the information from the codex and write them in books. So that's also one of the reasons why we have this information nowadays and how they survive.
Yeah, so very few of them survived. I think that complete codexes, there's only like, I think 3 or 4 that have survived in its entirety. Yeah.
I mean, the information remains because of these monks, but the codex itself, we don't have many of them nowadays. When you see one of those codexes, they are very colorful. But the funny thing is that there is no much. The written words that you see there are in the Spanish, not in Spanish, but with the handwriting.
Oh, for the Mexica ones.
Yes.
Yeah, for the Mexica ones, but the ancient Maya ones are in Mayan.
Oh yeah. They have the glyphs and everything.
Yeah. Okay. So the map token in Ixalan, I think, really references these. Like, you get this type of illustration. Very, very cool.
Yeah. It's like a very specific style.
Yeah, and really great job. I don't know who did the. Oh, I've got one right here. Look at that.
Yeah.
This art was done by Francesca Gerald. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. But anyway, codex token, very cool. Map token
Francesca
with a codex in it. Yeah.
I want to know who the art director was. Because if it was Ovidio, then...
Oh, he was the art director for the set. So this came from...
And not for every card.
Not for every card?
Yeah, no, not for every card. Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, but like the best ones I think are from Ovidio.
Okay.
Maybe you can ask him in a few days.
Yeah.
Like, who did this token? No, it was not me.
Okay. All right. So then we have Mischievous Pup, which is a dog. And I think that I love the depictions of dogs in old Mesoamerican art. The little clay dogs. I really like them.
Oh, yeah, they are very fat.
Yes, because they were made fat for food.
Tamales.
Yeah, I mean, they would, dogs were kept, some were pets, some were work dogs, and some were food. So they were like...
But they were also used for, how Egyptians mummified cats or crocodiles and such. Same happened with dogs.
Yeah.
Especially Xoloscuintles.
Yeah,
they were the guides to the underworld. Yeah.
Yeah, so
really...
the
legend says that they were the guides to Mictlan because Mictlan had several different places where you could go to, and your soul will get lost if you didn't know how to cross. And there was even a river of death. And the Xoloscuintle will help you cross that river and help you find your way to where you had to be, which part of Mictlan you had to be. But if you were bad with animals, they won't help you.
Oh, I see.
So you were doomed. You have to be a nice person to get their help.
I mean, I'm not a nice person, but I'm always nice to animals, so maybe they will help me.
You'll be fine. And interesting thing is that, Xoloscuintles can have hair. They are famous for being hairless dogs. There is a version that has hair.
Really? Okay.
Yes, very funny. And that is not the only breed, the only Mexican breed of dog. We also have the Chihuahua, that is also very known, but also we have the Calupo.
I don't know the Calupo.
It's a mix between a wolf and a dog.
Okay.
So it's this majestic, big black dog with a hole that is very deep and very beautiful. So it was kind of extinct like many years ago, but the locals tried uh, to to take it back to life.
To recreate it. That's
Yeah, to recreate it.
that's very cool. That's very cool. I also learned recently that there was in the city of Tenochtitlan, which is now Mexico City, there was a big zoo before the
Yes,
Europeans came, and there were
yes.
wolves in that zoo. So it makes sense that people, well, maybe making crossbreeds between dogs and wolves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting to think
They,
about. Like we think of zoos as a very modern thing, but
and yeah, no, but it
they're
was for the emperor. It was not for a public zoo. It
okay.
was like the the Tlatoani's menagerie, personal pets.
That is phenomenal. I mean, I wish that it had
Yeah,
been
he
public,
had.
but it's phenomenal that they had it.
Yeah, like bringing animals from all the parts of Mesoamerica. Just
Yeah, I
having
would,
more.
I would love to have seen those cities at their height. Amazing. And we know that there was a lot of animals being traded because some
Yeah.
years ago I was in New Mexico, in New Mexico, which is uh, in the southwestern United States,
Mm-hmm.
and there are carvings in New Mexico that show parrots, and they also, the people in New Mexico were also growing corn, and they were getting tobacco, and so the thing is that parrots and tobacco and corn and other things were being brought from Mexico into, well, what is now the United States, and then the people from here were sending back other goods. So the trade was really going far. I mean,
Yeah.
that's far.
The most important place for trade, one of the most important, was Shell Tenochtitlan, what we call that tianguis, that it's a market. Um, it was the Tlatelolco market. They say it was this huge thing that even had its own kind of government. Like they have the tianguis leader and rulers that kept like the safety of the place and made sure that all the trades were fair. And it was divided. It was like, imagine a very huge mall, but instead of stores, they were like these people with their goods, feathers, jewels, all kinds of food. Just like a market nowadays, like if you go to Mexico City or any market in Mexico that we call tianguis, you can find like food ready for to eat, ingredients, things for cooking, several animals.
Wow.
So whatever you wanted to get, you will go to the Tlatelolco market. And it was not only for trading, it was also for the chisme. So you could get the latest news or hang out with your friends or even, let's say you had a son, you want to get married, you could find a wife for him
You go
in the
look for a
market.
girlfriend. That's very
Yes.
cool. Um,
No, but your parents got them for you,
yeah,
so
of
you
course.
don't
Yeah, it
have to
was like,
worry.
they pick someone for you, and you only hope that they pick well. Um, so a really cool thing that I do want everyone to know is that you can still experience today in the year 2023. You can actually experience going to a Maya market. There is a town in Guatemala called Chichicastenango, and it is a Maya town, and it's like that. It's a traditional Maya market, and it's an amazing experience to go there. Um, so I would say to folks, if you're traveling, if you're doing some tourism, go check it out. Do it respectfully, especially if you go into the church. But it's a really really beautiful experience to be there.
No, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know it exists, but you know, my country is a beautiful and vastly unexplored place. Like a lot of people don't know anything about Guatemala, but you find things like that. Like it's one of the places where Maya culture really is alive and just you see it all around you. You're in it all the time.
And it's good because, for example, in the Yucatan Peninsula, yes, you have a lot of Maya inhabitants and Maya archaeological zones, but the problem is that it's too touristic that it's started to get gentrified.
Yeah.
So it's weird to find like very authentic places.
Yeah, I
Like you
understand.
have to really know where to go in order to find that. And I think that Guatemala, since it's not as full of foreign tourists like the Yucatan Peninsula, I think it has kept its authenticity pretty well.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things, like one of the worst things about Guatemala is that infrastructure is not good. The roads are bad. It's difficult to travel. It's difficult. But I think that that's also work to preserve a lot of it because there are a lot of places where you will only go if you're willing to like take, it's got to be like a journey. It's going to be an adventure. And
No, it's
it's
another dangerous one because if you go to the border with Mexico,
oh, I mean,
that's a very dangerous one.
yeah, I mean, I will say that, you know, yeah, a lot of Guatemala is not safe, but it's safe for tourists. It's not safe for the locals.
I mean, you know where to move. You have to move like in
Yeah,
the tourist zone,
yeah,
not go in the middle of the road. There is nowhere at the middle of the night.
yeah. But I'll tell you this, like some years ago, I went to Guatemala with a group of Americans, just all like white upper middle class Americans. And so I got to experience Guatemala the way that tourists experience it. And it was a surreal experience. It was like I recognized the
Why?
landscape, but it was like being in a totally different country. And just because all everywhere was safe and everywhere was like, just American products, like American beer, like it's like a totally different world, the way that tourists experience Guatemala versus the way that locals experience it. And everywhere I went, I was the only person who spoke Spanish other than the people who were working at the places. Just places,
Oh,
it's a yeah, like,
mind blowing.
yeah. I mean, it's a really it was a really strange experience. But then I thought like, okay, this is how travelers experience this country. It's very different. I think that this next one is really big, and we're going to talk about the ojer.
Um,
Okay, so there's four of these, right?
yes, on the Oher, yes.
Yeah. So
Because we have six gods, but only four of them. I mean, five of them are Oher, so one is dead.
so I think that the first thing we need to clarify is that this is pronounced ojer, not oyer. Um, and ojer is actually a Maya Quiche word that means ancient or old. So these are basically the ancient ones.
And it is here in the cards is used to describe the descendants of Chimil, the inner son, which is also an interesting thing because Chimil, it's let me check the origin of the word, but it's
Well, in Maya, it's
a
like a
word
bag.
from Chimil.
Yeah.
Really, because it also means something else in so it Chimil is a Kiliwa word that means throat.
Throat?
Throat, yes.
Hmm. Yeah, well,
I'm not really sure because now you're telling me that it's also Maya word and I didn't find it that way. I just found it in Chiliwa.
okay. Well, I know that in Maya, chimil means a bag. Like which is there's a different card that's like a little backpack, a little colorful backpack,
Yeah.
and that I think is closer to what a chimil would be. But I don't know if these bags. I don't know what you call them in Mexico. We call them morrales. the ones that with
Moral,
a
yeah,
little strap and
moral.
yeah. So to me, that's a
Yeah, but
chimil.
I think they didn't translate it that way. It was very disappointing.
Yeah. Um. So, but sorry, I interrupted you. You were telling us about chimil.
But so chimil, it's actually a word that means throat. So I'm not really sure if this was the intention or not. But the idea of the breath of life is very common among different cultures. And considering that chimil is like the mother of the gods, kind of makes sense. Maybe
Mhm.
we are just like making up things, but I like the theory of that.
Yeah. I think when I saw chimil, the card of chimil, what I thought is that maybe it was a reference to the Maya. It's difficult to say God. No, it's not a God. It's like a concept. This being, I don't know, intelligence called Hunrakan, the heart of heaven, who is one of
I
the
didn't know
creator
that one.
forces in the Maya culture. So that's what I thought when I saw Chimil card, but that's just my interpretation, and I'm not an expert on this. Um, but I did want to say something about the Ojer because I think that
Mm-hmm.
all of their names are rooted
In
or
something, yeah.
in Maya Quiche, which is one of the most spoken languages in Guatemala. In Guatemala, by the way, we have uh, I think 24, no, 23 Maya languages, and some that are not
Yeah,
Maya. I think that there's a few more in Mexico. I don't know how many there are in
yeah. The
Mexico.
thing with not really sure, but the thing with Mayas is that they descend from the ancient Mayas, but they are not really interconnected. They are not like a full culture. They are just connected by maybe the language and some traditions, but they are like clusters of Mayas that
Yeah,
they have their own language and their own traditions and their
there's this notion that it's all one homogeneous thing, but it is not.
yeah no
They don't even speak the same language a lot of the time.
language. Yeah, they don't
Um,
even. I mean, we use that word to describe them, but they don't identify as such
yeah.
sometimes.
Well, now I think that people have gotten used to it, and what I've seen people do is that they will say like I am Maya, and then they will say their specific group. Like people will say
Hmm.
I am Maya Quiche, or I am Maya Sutuhil, or I am Maya Ishil. Like that's like there's this sort of shared identity, but then there's also
Mm-hmm.
the individual. Yeah,
Group, yeah.
yeah. I mean, at least that's how people do it in Guatemala, but I don't know how it works in other places. Um,
I think it works like that for all of them.
okay. So what I wanted to say is that this is what I figured out. I don't know if this is 100% correct, but first off, we have the ojer. The white one is called ojer tak, and tak in Maya Quiche it's not a word. It's like I'm so bad at grammar. But it's an indicator of plurality, of plural. So
Mm-hmm.
ojer tak is
Mm,
kind of like the shared ojer or the ojer of all. It just kind of makes me think of like how many years ago there was an angel in magic called the voice of all. I think it's kind of the same idea that this is the ojer of the people, which makes sense because it's white, like which is the color of community and the color of like
it's
altruism
actually the god
and
of
inclusion.
civilization.
Okay.
Ojertak is the god of civilization, and I like the design because first, this that you're telling that it what does it mean? Tak? What did you say it meant?
It's an indicator of plural, like
Yeah, I mean it's a
us.
plural.
Yeah.
It puts tokens, the triple of tokens, and also the face. It's based on a math um, that it has this notion of the cycle of life and death. Uh, like the inner face, it's the baby or the young. The middle phase is adulthood, and the outer phase it's death, and it's a skull. I mean, it's not like that in Offertag illustration, but the original reference is like that.
That's really
This
cool.
mask was found in Teotihuacan, but I remember seeing it in the Totonacas too. And some people say it's even Maya. So
It might be. And yeah, Teotihuacan is the place of the creation, from what I've heard.
it's an invention from the Mexicas. So they loved Teotihuacan so much because when they arrived there, um, the place was empty and nobody knows what happened to the people from Teotihuacan. So they created this. The only register we have from them comes from the Mexicas, and they say like this. They were like super genius, and like Atlantis,
Yeah, they
Atlantis people.
if you find a
And oh,
beautiful
we
abandoned
descend
city,
from them, yeah.
you
And they say,
created it.
oh, we come from them, so we are like superior and so on.
Yeah.
There is a lot of legend behind the Teotihuacan.
Yeah, it's very cool. And that's a beautiful place to visit too. Um so okay, so the next ojer that I want to talk about is I think it's the one that's a skull with a snake arm. Um so it's this one
Yeah,
is called Ashonil, ojer Ashonil, and I think that Ashonil is very close to another Maya Quiche word, Kashonil, which means ruins.
hmm.
So this is a being of destruction. So I just think that they just kind of took the word and made it a little easier to pronounce.
Is the destruction god though? National? Because from what I know, he's just the god of volcanoes.
Oh, that seems pretty destructive.
um, well, yes. I mean, as a geophysicist, as a geoscientist, I find it very excited. I should wait because I got this from this one is
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah,
That is
yeah,
very
I got
cool.
it in the from Victor Adame. So
Nice, nice.
I saw it and I was like, I can't believe you designed this, like, because he designed an astronaut and the green god.
And
And when you see them, they are like very much, the detail is fantastic in both of them.
hmm,
For example, for this astronaut, when we see it, first of all, the skull face. So it reminds me of Mictlantecutli, the god of death.
mm-hmm.
You see, like you know
Yeah, the
the
ring.
with the ring that it's like something that repeats constantly in this set. Um, but we also have a reference to the sword of fire. So this one,
Okay.
and it's a legendary weapon in the Mexica pantheon. Xiucoatl
Mm-hmm.
is it's a sword that is also a snake on fire, and it was wielded by the god of war, Huitzilopochtli.
Very cool. That's
Yeah. So
amazing.
remember, I told you about this dismembered woman that they found when they were building the subway. It was the god of war sister. So when their mother, that it's also one of the reference for the green god, Coatlicue is her name. It's the mother of the gods, actually, and mother of fertility and death to give birth to reincarnation. She was pregnant, like out of the blue. Her other daughter was like angry, like how is this possible? I'm going to kill this baby. So the god of war was born with that sword, and with that sword dismembered his sister.
Wow. I did not know that story. That's very interesting. Um so you just talked about the green ojer and
Mm-hmm.
it's called Caslemal.
Kaslem. Yeah.
Oh, Caslem? Okay.
That's how I think it's pronounced.
Okay. So
Why, what do you know that I
in
don't?
in Maya Quiche, Caslemal means life.
Oh,
So this
Okay, that's a
is,
good one. I didn't know
yeah,
it.
this is the Ojer of life. But I think that the coolest one is the blue one, because the blue one
Oh,
is
that's my
basically
favorite.
a reference to Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan. And this one is
And he's the god
called,
of many things.
yeah, but this one they call
Aspatic.
Ojer Pakpatik. And Pakpatik is also a word in Maya Quiche. And what this word means is the coming of light and the vanishing of darkness.
Oh, the word itself like that, it means that?
Yeah.
Whoa. That's a very cool
It's a
word.
like it kind of means sunrise, but what it really means is sort of like light chasing away the darkness. Pakpatik.
Whoa.
Isn't that
Now,
amazing?
now I love it very much.
I know, I love it. That's one of my favorite things in the set.
And I like it that at first, when I first saw Kaslem, I said, oh, okay, this is the green god, so we are not getting any Quetzalcoatl. Because in the collective idea in here, like, Quetzalcoatl is green.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me why, just green. But then I forgot that we were still missing a blue god, which is the god of knowledge. And which, once it came out and it clicked, like, okay, yeah. I mean, Quetzalcoatl may be a reference, like, the feathers represent the sky and the divine, and the earth represents fertility and the land. But he was not really a god of agriculture, or he was mostly a god of knowledge.
Yeah.
He gave the knowledge to humans, and he also gave us cacao. So thanks to Quetzalcoatl, we have chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually gave cacao to humans because he wanted them to focus on learning and developing arts and science. So
Really?
he said, okay, so with this they won't be hungry and they will focus on learning. So that's why he gave cacao to humans.
That is fascinating. Yeah, I also think that Quetzalcoatl had a very strong relationship with wind and rain, which are both blue
Mm-hmm.
things in magic. I mean, if I was designing uh, Quetzalcoatl, I would make him green blue,
Blue. Yeah, makes sense.
but
But
I.
actually, I was reading that one of the main differences between Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan was that Kukulkan was more related to wind.
Mhm.
That in the Maya mythology, it was very related to, who was the god of rain? I don't remember.
Chuck.
It was related to Chuck. So when Chuck was coming, Kukulkan was behind or in front.
Or
Yeah, in
together.
front.
Yeah.
You're kind of together, but you see, when you're getting rain, you feel the wind, very strong wind.
Right, right.
So it was Kukulkan, like, saying that Chuck was coming. And all
That's
these, this wind moving the clouds so it could rain. Yeah.
that's really cool. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Can we go back a bit to the
Ojer?
green god, not
Oh,
to Kathleen?
yeah. Okay, let's go. Let's go back to Kathleen.
One thing about her is that I say that it's related to the goddess Coatlicue, the mother of gods. But the thing is that she also is known as the one with the skirt of snakes. So
Oh,
when you see
yeah.
the picture, I mean, you see the picture of Coatlicue and it's like this. I mean, you can display it, it will be cool.
Yeah. I actually took a
She
picture
looks
of
like
her with when last time I was in Mexico.
Yeah. And you see all her Kaslem, and she has a skirt of snakes.
Yeah, same
At first,
reference.
I thought it was a Quetzalcoatl reference, but no, it's literally Coatlicue. And also, she has it. And this is a very cool design. Um, she has the monarcha butterfly
Mm-hmm.
with her. And I think that's really cute because, the monarcha butterfly is flying from Canada
To Mexico.
specifically to Michoacan,
Uh-huh.
to breed. And it's this, I've never been, unfortunately,
Me
but they
neither.
say it's like this amazing thing that you go into the forest and there are so many butterflies everywhere, and if you talk, one will stick into your mouth, and it's like a representation of life because I mean, it's so shocking to
Yeah.
see all this life happening around you. So I think it's very nice that they put that design
Yeah.
on a goddess of fertility.
Yeah. So you know something really interesting about these butterflies. So um, I, the monarchs don't live that long. So the
No,
migration is multi-generational. So the thing is that one generation will fly part of the trip, and then the next generation will continue. And somehow they are born knowing where they are and where they need to go. And nobody knows how that works. It's
it's
I
amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Um I think it's like it's so nice talking to you because we both have backgrounds in science and I think that we both enjoy this kind of thing.
It's very funny. I
Yeah.
mean, Chicago will be crazy.
Yeah, we're gonna have so much fun. You know, now I was thinking about it, but now that you tell me you're going, yeah, I'll definitely go too. Okay.
So, last one I wanted because we didn't mention the ancient one, the
The
last god, the one that
Oh,
was killed by a Classot.
okay, so tell us
So
about
you see, it's the head of a dinosaur, and
uh-huh.
inside there is a human face. So, um, someone says on Twitter that oh, it reminds me of the depiction of Kukulkan, where Kukulkan is the snake, and it's a human is coming out of its mouth.
Oh yeah, that's the rebirth of Chuck.
Yes.
Yeah. That
So I don't really know that story, but can you tell me more about it?
I don't feel confident telling it from memory. But the thing is
Okay.
that there is okay, so I know that there is a death and a rebirth of Chuck, and he gets swallowed by the snake and then he comes out again, and I know that he was somehow reborn from the shell of a turtle. um and there's a famous uh picture of him being reborn, but I don't
But then
know.
that it's not Quetzalcoatl. I mean, it's not Kukulkan.
No, it's Kukulkan. No, the snake is a Maya
Hmm.
snake. It's not Quetzalcoatl.
Okay.
Um, but it's yeah, it's one of those two-headed snakes. You know, the snake that has a head on both ends. This is like a popular Maya motif.
Okay. And
Yeah,
I didn't know that one.
but I could not tell you the story in detail from memory because I'm gonna get it wrong. Um, but it's a story of like the rebirth of the god, and also the rebirth of this god coincides with the most recent creation of the universe, which is
Hmm.
celebrated. Some people say August 13th, some people say August 14th. Um, but that is that reference.
Very cool. Thank you. I will have to correct my article then.
Yeah, I'll try to find the information. There's a really cool book if you want if you have time to read like a really fat book. There's a book called Maya Cosmos that was
Hmm.
written by a group of I think that some of them are archaeologists, some of them are anthropologists, but they talk to a lot of like well, we call them arquis, priests in the Maya communities around Guatemala and Mexico, and they documented a lot of the religious ritual and belief, and they also compiled a lot of information from like ancient Maya and modern Maya, and they put together this whole huge study on the Maya vision of the spiritual world. It's amazing. It's like a very
That's
hefty
very cool.
academic book, but it's well worth reading. Well, I'll bring it to
It's
Chicago
always good to know from the ancients.
and we can
Oh, you
see.
have it.
Yeah, yeah,
Good.
yeah. I have a few of them that I really enjoy.
And also that's why elderly people in communities are important. Like they are the responsible for passing the knowledge.
Yeah, going back to the abuelo, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so shall we move on to the resplendent angel? I think we already talked about the
Yes.
resplendent angel, but a couple of
Yeah,
things. First, the clothing. Very, very like typical Mexica clothing on the resplendent
oh
angel.
yeah,
I think that there's
yeah.
also a small angel in the background carrying a macahuitl. Um,
Oh yeah,
and like you pointed out, they have the quetzal feathers. And also, I think that some of them have the bright red feathers uh, of
yeah. For the quetzal, no.
the quetzal, but also the guacamaya, the macaw,
Uh huh.
who was also very important in Maya culture.
Yeah.
In fact, there's
Yeah, I remember there is a car with a guacamaya in there,
yeah,
like the Scarlet Macaw.
scarlet macaw. That's it. And
And it's also by Aldo Dominguez, another Mexican artist.
oh, cool. Yeah, and that there was I know that in the Popol Vuh there is a god who is a macaw, a scarlet macaw, and he or she or they are pretending to be the sun because they're so shiny and glorious.
Just you're
They
on them.
pretend to be the sun and they're the false sun, and then they get punished for it. So that's a really cool story um in that book. Um,
Something I wanted to say about the Resplendent Angel, when you see the alternate art,
mhm.
um, it looks very similar to a depiction of the legend of Iztaccíhuatl and Popocatépetl, the Mexica Romeo and Juliet. So this is a love story. So this is a typical like this story has been painted by several artists, but most of them look like that, like this Mexica warrior carrying a dead woman. So what happened with them is that Popocatépetl was a warrior and Iztaccíhuatl was a princess. They fell in love, and the king sent Popocatépetl to war. Uh, Someone told the princess that her beloved had died in the war, and she was so sad that she died of sadness. Popocatépetl came back from the war, found her dead. He took her body to the mountains and stayed with her, like next to her body. And the gods were like felt sorry for them and turned them into volcanoes.
Mm.
And those volcanoes exist, and they are called
Oh,
Iztaccíhuatl and Popocatépetl.
that's very cool.
Iztaccíhuatl is known as the sleeping lady. When you see the shape of the volcano, it looks like a sleeping woman. And Popocatépetl, it's an active volcano nowadays. It's the main one of the main risks for the people around it because it's constantly vaping, and it had like some eruptions.
Yeah, it's actually last time I was in Mexico, my flight was delayed because of ash from this volcano.
Mm,
Yeah,
it's quite common.
yeah.
And
Um,
sometimes when you're on the plane, you can see the volcanoes. There is not too much pollution and such.
you know, there is also in Guatemala a sort of Romeo and Juliet story like that. The
Even
story
the
of
ancients love
yeah,
stories.
the story of Princess Chocomil, um, which it's complicated, but like it's basically this warrior. His name is Itzul. He goes to this town, and there's a competition where they have to take a corn, a piece of like a corn ear, and they throw it in the air, and they all have to shoot arrows, and like they're not allowed to let this thing fall to the ground. And so then one guy misses, and so he shoots in place and hits it. So he saves the game, but he kind of insults this guy's honor. So they all get mad at him. And of course, he's there, and the princess is in love with him. So then they end up chasing him away. and they run away together. And there's this lake that was magically formed for reasons. Uh, but the thing is that in the chase, the princess ends up going into the lake and drowning, and then he jumps into the lake to die and be with her. And so the thing is that every day in the afternoon, this this Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, gets really windy and full of waves, and we call those winds the chocomil. And so the idea is that it is the spirits of these characters sort of playing in the water.
Oh,
It's a really beautiful story. I love it.
it's really funny how ancients like to associate nature with love stories.
Yeah, because what? I mean, there's no better story than a love story. All right. So the next two cards that I wanted to talk about are Sage of Days and Millennium Calendar, because these two are very closely related. In in my belief system, one of the most important thing that people have to do as like our mission here on Earth is to keep track of time, to count the days, and worship the
Okay.
gods. Those are basically our holy duties. And so the Sage of Days actually, I think, references these people who are experts at the Maya calendar and spiritual guides and people who kind of are community leaders. So in Guatemala we call them arquij. That's the term for a priest who studies the calendar. Um, and I know that there are people like this in Mexico as well.
I'm not really sure. It's the first time I listen to some like people dedicated to the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, I mean it's well, the calendar is still the Maya calendar is still in use, and I think that there's different
Yeah.
variations. There's local variations. I am familiar with the Quiche one, but I know that there's like a different version in Honduras. I know that there's a few different versions in Mexico. Um, Something to know about, like we said earlier, the Maya calendar was actually more accurate than the Gregorian calendar that we use now. But the Maya didn't have like one calendar; they had three. They had,
Yeah, the long
yeah,
count,
the long count
the
calendar, which counted millennia, which is why this is the millennium calendar. Uh, well, a long count is called a baktung. I'm actually going to do a whole
Mhm.
video on the Maya calendar later, so we can.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think it needs
Because it
it's a
was
dedicated thing.
like I knew how it worked, but not in detail. So I had to look for this information, and I was like, okay, this is tricky. Yeah, I have the names in here. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the first one is the 260-day count. That is the Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then
The
the
Tzolk'in,
next one was the half. The Tolkien is the small one, right?
yeah.
Then the half that it was like the middle one, 18 months of 20 days each. And they have like these 5 days of bad luck where the underworld opens and then disease comes and you have to be very careful and make certain rituals to protect yourself.
Yeah. So that was the year calendar that was actually used for harvesting and for planting and for planning out city works and all of that. And then the Tzolk'in was more like a ritual calendar, religious.
Okay.
And then the long count calendar was for counting ages, really.
There was a name for when the Tolkien and the half connected, no?
I'm
Like
not
you have
sure.
this round and at some point they have the same date. It
Um,
is what
it might.
called
I don't know. But
yeah, that's called the calendar round. When
okay.
they get together again, that's just the calendar round.
So a thing that I wanted to talk about is how remember how back in 2012 everyone was going crazy about the Maya calendar?
Oh yeah.
So what happened in 2012 is that there was a this completed a long count cycle, what is called a baktun, which is a very long period of time. So what this represents really is just the entering of a new era, kind of similar to like, you know, entering a new century or a new millennium. You know how
Hmm.
so it's kind of like that, and I think that calling it the Millennium Calendar in Magic makes a lot of sense. But anyway, stay tuned. Um, the I will be making a video explaining the calendar.
No, what I really like about this card, it's about the design. It has like pon the time. They put the time counters on it, and at first people were freaking out, like, how am I supposed to put 1,000 counters in this thing? It was like, you just have to do it 11 times as much. It's like you double it. You
Yeah, it
don't
doubles. It's an
count it.
exponential thing. Yeah,
It's exponential. You don't need to worry about putting 1,000 um, dice.
yeah. You don't have to put 1,000
Other
individual
cards.
count. I mean, also you can use like different units to represent different values.
Yeah.
Like
I
like
mean,
we roll percentages when we play D&D. We don't roll 100 die.
use D20. It
Use
makes
D20s.
sense flavor, like for the flavor, it makes sense to use like D20
Yeah, it's
just
like
for fun.
here's my ones, my tens, my hundreds, and my thousands. I need 4 dice. You can count 1,000 very easily.
Or just write it next to the card in a
Right, that
paper.
too.
I think it's easier that way.
um. Okay, so we've
But
got
I like that it explodes. When it gets to 1,000, it explodes and kills everyone. So
yeah. That's
it's like the end of the world.
yeah. It's yeah. That is a funny reference, I think, to the 2012 thing. Everyone loses 1,000 life, but it's all your opponents. You don't lose the 1,000 life. It's just your opponents.
Well, yeah. You're
So
right.
I think it's just you win. Um. Okay, so let's
It's because you didn't think the world will end in 2012. So that's
yeah,
why you win.
everything is okay. Nothing happened in 2012.
Or maybe it happened, but another reality started at the same time, so
That is
nobody knows
entire. Yeah.
it.
Well, you know what? I want to go back to that one. That one. This one is too complicated.
Oh, let's see. I don't know what happened with this one. Like
Yeah, somebody
everything is so
made a
messed
mistake in the coding.
up.
Okay, so let's talk about Visage of the Dead.
Oh, I like that one. It is very funny that I think even in Indiana Jones they address
Crystal
the crystal
skulls.
skull.
Yeah,
And it's believed that it's a Mesoamerican thing, but it's actually not. It was an invented legend.
yeah. But it was actually a hoax because some people said that they had found it in Central America or in Mexico or something. But then there's
No,
no reference for like crystals being carved like that in Central or North America.
no, when you study those crystals, it's quartz. And when you study those quartz, they come from Brazil, all of them.
Oh, really?
In the world.
So
Yeah,
what?
like the quartz from Brazil has. I don't really know the characteristics, but it's very specific.
Mhm.
So when you analyze like all the purities and cautions, you say, oh, this one comes
Yeah. I have seen a
from
lot
Brazil.
of minerals from Brazil. At the Museum of Natural History, they have a huge mineral collection, and so many
They are
wonderful
very
things
rich.
come from Brazil.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
very nice natural resources in Brazil.
yeah, amazing
But yeah,
place.
the thing is that people, it was like a fashion thing, and it was trendy. It was trendy to sell and buy Mesoamerican antiquities stuff, you know. And I think it was the English who made these. It's not counterfeits because they are not fake. They just made up this thing,
Yeah, I
and they were like done with relatively modern techniques.
What I read is what they were carved in the 19th century, like in the
Yeah.
1800s. So pretty modern technology, just totally fake. No crystal skulls
Yeah.
anywhere in ancient America.
Yeah, but the story behind the story they made up for this call was very cool because they said one could kill you. If you had it could kill you, it could cause you disease, and if you put together the 13 skulls, the end of the world will happen. Again, the end of the world.
People are so obsessed with the end of the world.
And blaming it to the Mesoamerican countries.
Right.
So your last card will be
Okay, so
everyone's favorite.
yeah, we're going to finish up with everyone's favorite card, which is Xolotoyak. Who
Xolatoyek.
Xolotoyak. Yeah, Xolotoyak.
It's Xolatoyek.
Xolotoyak. Huh?
Xolatoyek.
Xolotoyak. Okay, got it. Am I saying it wrong?
Yes, Xolatoyek, but I think you were saying it with an O.
Oh, okay. Xolatoyak. No, Xolatoyak. Yeah, Xolatoyak.
Yeah,
Xolatoyak,
Xolatoyek.
yeah.
Okay, so axolotls are an endemic species from the Mexico City. They the cute thing about axolotls is that they remain in their larvae state even when they grow up because salamanders, all the baby salamanders have these frills,
Gills.
but they lose them. Gills, yeah, they lose them when they grow up, but not these animals. And this particular species, the Ambystoma mexicanum, it's from the lake of Xochimilco. Yeah.
Ah, Xochimilco, claro, claro.
Yeah. So these animals are used to live in the Xochimilco Lake. But the problem is that due to pollution and destruction of the habitat and the adding of not of new species not natural to that environment, well, they haven't been able to reproduce in a while in the wild. So the breed is still alive because they are very easy to keep to grow in captivity. And also because they have the ability of regenerate their brains, internal organs, and body parts. So they are very useful in medicine. They are being researched in medicine to find out how to regenerate brain cells because, wow, you can cure Alzheimer's with that. The legend with that animal is okay, Xolo means ugly. So, for example, Dolly Squintly means ugly dog. Axolotl means like it also means monster, so it's a water monster. And the thing is that these two animals are transformations from the god Xolotl. Xolotl is Quetzalcoatl's twin. So Quetzalcoatl is like the good-looking twin, and Xolotl is the ugly one. He has the ability to transform it, to turn into these animals. So yeah, they are really related to that deity. They are like sacred in that sense, but they were also used for food by the Mexicans. So
Yeah.
yeah, axolotl tamales.
Yeah. I have never eaten an amphibian, I don't think. Well, no, I've eaten frogs, but I've never eaten a salamander.
Yeah, no, me neither. Not because I don't want to, but I never had the chance.
Yeah, same. And I don't think that you can eat axolotl because it's endangered or it's a pet.
It's in danger in the wild, but since it's really easy to breed in captivity, I think if you wanted to eat one, it would be easy to keep a farm for it.
Yeah, and I guess that's why they were a good source of protein in for the Mexica.
But back there, they were in the wild, so no need to
They just picked them out of the water.
breed them. Yeah. No, and actually the original breed it's brown, but the famous pink color it's a mutation, and
Mm-hmm.
it's mostly used in medicine and medical research, biology research.
Yeah.
You're the biologist. You tell us
I
about
am a
those.
biologist. But I'm an entomologist. I study insects. I don't know about axolotl.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, and a thing that I do want to make it clear, super clear, is that they are called axolotl, not axolotl. Like I get so
Yeah.
it just it feels so
No, it's even
wrong.
confusing for locals because here we just call it ajolote because
Ajolote.
when you translate Nahuatl to Spanish, the X becomes a J.
Hmm.
So it just sounds like hey.
Okay, so
Mhm.
I have been asking this question to many people. So do you say Ixalan or do you say Ixalan?
Ixalan because even though it's based on may sound like Nahuatl, it's made in the United States. So
So you go with Ixalan? Okay.
yes.
I I read it as Ixalan because for me the X more naturally sounds like a sh. But uh,
Hmm.
but I say Ixalan because I think that that's what people understand.
And it was if it had been designed now originally, I think it would be called Ixalan. But since it was designed in a time where research was not as deep as it is now, they were not as careful as now, it will just stay as Ixalan. And it's not even Ixalan, it's Ixalan.
Yeah, Ixalan.
We call here in Mexico we say Ixalan.
Ixalan, yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
anything how it changes between languages.
Very cool. Yeah. So I think that we went through a lot of cards. and we
Maybe just one, just last one. I know you can
please,
cut it out
please,
after,
no,
but
please tell us.
Ravenous Chupacabra.
Oh, Ravenos Chupacabra. Okay, but that's not
Yeah,
Mesoamerican
but the new
or South
one,
American.
yeah, but it's part of the local folklore.
Yes, but
It's current folklore.
Chupacabra originated in Puerto Rico, no?
Yeah, but it's spread everywhere. Like
Yeah,
here
now
in
it's
Mexico, I even thought I grew up with that thing, so I
yeah, me
really
too.
thought its origin was Mexican. And it really freaked me out when the car came out the first time. It said chupacabra, and I was like, no, he's not only sucking blood from one goat.
Yeah,
It's called
Chupacabras.
chupacabras.
Yeah.
Chupacabras. Uh-huh. So the funny thing with this guy is that at first it was described as a reptilian,
Mhm,
but at some point it evolved to be like a hairless dog,
mhm,
and that's how I knew it, like a hairless dog.
mhm.
That you heard that, oh, okay, this dog-like monster ate my cabras. So
Yeah. So I think that this is the third Chupacabra we're getting.
that's the
Because
second one, no?
no, it's the third one. Because there was one um in the original Ixalan block. There was one that
The
when it
black one.
came into play, it gave something -2/-2.
No, I think you had to sacrifice.
That was Ravenous Chupacabra. That was the second
Uh
one.
huh.
Ravenous Chupacabra destroyed
Oh,
a target creature, and now there's this
yeah.
third Chupacabra. So we've got three Chupacabras in
But the last
Magic.
one is dead. Poor thing.
Yeah.
It's an echo.
Yeah, I think it's so funny that they have the chupacabras.
It's a dead chupacabra. It didn't have the arrow on its body. Like, oh, poor thing, they killed it.
Yeah, and there are so many more references that we didn't get a chance to talk about today, but um, there's just as a heads up, another video that I plan to make is what was there was there's a card that's based on Tekunuman. I'm trying to forget. I think it's called Cave Spelunker or Jade Light Spelunker, but the alternate art is
Oh,
based.
yeah. The alternate, yeah. From a video, actually.
Yeah, it's based on a Quiche hero called Tekunuman. So we're also gonna make a video about him. Um,
Like a whole video.
Yeah, because I
or
mean,
make a video talk about it.
yeah, yeah, that's
He
gonna.
was the one who illustrated, so it would be very nice to know like the whole process behind it.
Oh yeah, maybe we can just talk about it during the interview. Maybe that'll be easier.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, Jessica, I really appreciate you being here today. This was so much fun. It's been a while since
Yeah,
I've
I had
had
a lot
this
of fun
much fun
thinking.
making a video.
Yay.
I really appreciate how much you know about this stuff. I learned so much today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I had to do my research for the article, so like you say, you cannot you're not comfortable saying it by memory, but once you read it, you say, yeah,
Yeah.
I knew that.
So, if people want to find you on social media or if they want to look at your articles, where should we go look?
Okay, in Facebook, I'm appear like Wizards of the Golf. In there, you can find like the Spanish version of the next article, and in Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, etc., you will find me as my initials, like JPSC6, and that's for like the like all my accounts.
Okay,
Like
perfect.
if you don't find it, you find I am actually also in Blue Sky with that username.
Okay, that's good to know. Um, and for the folks who are watching, I'm just gonna say Jessica is also not just a Magic judge and a great Commander player and a great Modern player, but also a very, very
Oh,
cool Magic cosplayer. And
thank you.
that Dia de los Muertos Ugin that you did recently,
Oh yeah,
that was phenomenal. So
yeah.
go,
I didn't paint it. Yeah,
yeah, go check out
but
Jessica's cosplay on social media because it is really, really creative and really fun.
I also have a Chandra also for Day of the Dead.
Oh, I did not see that one.
I had a professional session with that one.
Cool. I'll
It was
check that
a
out.
session taken here in downtown during the Dia de Muertos parade.
Nice. Okay, so I'll check that out. So thank you so much for being here. I hope that you will come back soon. And well,
I would love that. Thank you.
so everyone, you know where to find me on social media. You can find me on Discord. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram. And if you like this video, please like it, subscribe, and we'll see you around. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.